Discipline. It's the invisible bridge between where you are now and where you want to be. Everyone dreams, but few are willing to pay the price of consistency, patience, and relentless focus. This audiobook is not about waiting for motivation to strike. It's about learning how to force yourself to be disciplined even when your mind resists, when comfort calls, and when excuses feel easier than effort. In the next 10 chapters, we will explore practical, timeless, and powerful ways to develop unshakable discipline. You will hear stories, strategies, and truths that will challenge your thinking and push you toward action. Think of this not just as a book you listen to, but as a voice guiding you step by step into the disciplined, determined, and unstoppable version of yourself. Let's begin. The power of self-mastery. There is a truth that every great thinker, every strong leader, and every extraordinary achiever has known. The greatest battle you will ever fight is not with the outside world, it is with yourself. The struggles within are far greater than any struggles without. And discipline, at its very core, is the art of winning this battle day after day, moment after moment. When you hear the phrase self-mastery, what comes to mind? Perhaps it sounds like something abstract, almost too distant or too philosophical, but in reality, self-mastery is deeply practical. It is the ability to control your impulses, to rise above your cravings, to resist the pull of laziness, and to choose the path of growth over the path of ease. It is about commanding yourself to do what needs to be done, even when you least feel like it. Think about a single morning. The alarm clock rings. In that split second, there is a war. One voice tells you, stay in bed, you deserve more rest. Another voice whispers, get up, your goals are waiting. That small, simple decision, to rise or to stay down, determines much more than your morning. It shapes your identity. It says something about who you are becoming. And each time you choose to master yourself, you grow stronger. Each time you let comfort win, you weaken that inner resolve. Self-mastery is not about perfection. It is about progress. You will not win every battle. There will be days when you lose, when excuses overpower your will. But the key is to return to the fight again and again, because mastery is built not in a single victory, but in thousands of repeated choices. Consider the story of the athlete who trains long before the world awakens. While others are sleeping, they are running. While others indulge, they are restraining. Their victories on the field are not accidents. They are the result of hundreds of private victories over themselves. The discipline to show up when no one is watching, the courage to say no to distractions, the relentless focus on their purpose. That is self-mastery in action. And the beauty of this discipline is that it applies to every aspect of life, not just sport or achievement. It applies to health, to work, to relationships, to learning, and even to the smallest of daily habits. A person who has mastered themselves no longer waits for external motivation. They have built a system of inner strength that guides them. They do not live at the mercy of moods. They do not let impulses decide their future. They are steady, reliable, and strong, both to themselves and to those around them. Why does this matter so much? Because without self-mastery, every other pursuit in life becomes fragile. You can set goals, but without discipline they crumble. You can make plans, but without follow-through they fail. You can dream, but without action, they fade. Self-mastery is the foundation upon which every achievement rests. Without it, everything else collapses. There is a timeless saying, if you conquer yourself, no challenge will conquer you. Think about that. Life will always bring obstacles, circumstances you cannot control, setbacks you did not expect, difficulties you did not invite. But if you have mastered yourself, your thoughts, your actions, your discipline, then nothing outside can truly defeat you. You will adapt, you will endure, you will rise. Now, how do you begin cultivating this mastery? Start with awareness. Notice the moments when you are tempted to take the easy way out. Notice when your excuses whisper louder than your commitment. Awareness is the first step. From there, take small actions that align with discipline. Do the difficult thing, even for just 5 minutes. Get up when you want to sleep in. Open the book when you want to scroll your phone. Speak calmly when you feel anger boiling. Each of these is a tiny act of self-conquest, a single stone laid in the fortress of your inner strength. And remember, mastery is not built in dramatic gestures. It is not a single heroic act. It is in the quiet, consistent decisions you make every day. Choosing water over soda, finishing the task before turning on the television, saying no when temptation knocks. These may seem small, but together they form the strongest foundation you can build, the foundation of a disciplined, mastered life. In time, these small acts accumulate. They reshape how you see yourself. You no longer say, "I'm trying to be disciplined." Instead, you say, "I am disciplined." It becomes a part of who you are. And that, more than anything else, is the power of self-mastery. It transforms discipline from something you do into something you are. So the next time you stand at the crossroads between comfort and growth, remember this truth. The real enemy is not the task, not the obstacle, not the challenge before you. The real enemy is the weaker version of yourself that longs for ease. Defeat that self, and you unlock unlimited strength. Self-mastery is freedom. Self-mastery is power. And when you learn to command yourself, you will find that the world bends to those who refuse to be bent within. The pain of regret versus the pain of discipline. Life will always ask you to choose between two forms of pain, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. Both hurt, but they are not equal. Discipline is sharp, immediate, and temporary. Regret, on the other hand, lingers. It grows heavier with time, and once it settles in, it never truly leaves. Imagine standing at a crossroads. One road is difficult to walk. It's steep, it's tiring, it requires effort. That is the road of discipline. The other road looks smooth, easy, inviting. That is the road of comfort. But here is the hidden truth. The easy road has a toll you cannot see at first. Years later, when you look back, you realize the cost. The opportunities missed, the potential wasted, the dreams abandoned. That is the pain of regret. The disciplined path may demand sweat today, but it pays you back with strength tomorrow. The undisciplined path may feel good today, but it taxes you with sorrow later. Which one would you rather carry? A moment of sacrifice now, or a lifetime of what-ifs? Think of the student who refuses to study. They tell themselves, "I'll do it tomorrow." Days pass, and suddenly the exam is here. Panic sets in. They wish they had used their time wisely, but it's too late. That's regret. Contrast this with the student who sits down every day, even for an hour, to review. At the time, it feels hard, boring, uncomfortable. That's discipline. But on the day of the exam, they walk in calm, confident, prepared. The pain they felt in study was light compared to the crushing weight of unpreparedness. This principle applies to every corner of life. The person who avoids exercise may enjoy sitting on the couch today, but in 10 years their body reminds them of the cost. The person who eats healthily and trains consistently feels the sting of effort today, but later enjoys vitality, strength, and longevity. One pain lasts a moment, the other lasts a lifetime. It is important to remember that regret doesn't come suddenly. It builds quietly, silently, over time. It whispers to you when you see others achieving what you could have achieved. It stings when you realize that you had the same hours, the same opportunities, but lacked the discipline to use them. Discipline, in contrast, is loud and immediate. You feel it when you rise early instead of sleeping in, when you push yourself through one more set of exercise, when you turn off distractions to focus. But here's the secret: once discipline has passed, it leaves you with pride. Regret, once it arrives, leaves you with sorrow. Ask yourself, which pain would you rather live with? The temporary sting of effort or the permanent ache of wasted potential? There is a saying, "Do what is hard now, and your life will be easy. Do what is easy now, and your life will be hard." This is the heart of discipline versus regret. The disciplined life front-loads the difficulty. You pay the price now and enjoy the reward later. The undisciplined life postpones the price. You take the comfort now, but you pay endlessly in the future. Think of a builder constructing a house. One cuts corners, uses weak materials, and rushes the work. It seems easier and faster, but years later the house begins to crumble and regret sets in. The other builder takes the time to measure carefully, to lay strong foundations, to endure the slow, disciplined work. It is harder at the moment, but the result is a home that stands firm for a lifetime. Your life is no different. Each disciplined choice is a brick laid strong. Each excuse is a crack in the foundation. To embrace discipline is to honor your future self. Every time you choose discipline, you are sending a gift forward in time. A stronger body, a sharper mind, a calmer spirit, a better life. Every time you choose comfort over discipline, you are handing your future self a burden, weakness, regret, and the pain of what might have been. So the next time you face a decision, pause and ask, will this choice give me discipline's pride or regret's sorrow? Remember that discipline hurts in ounces, but regret weighs tons. Your future self is watching you. Imagine them standing years ahead, looking back. What would they say? Would they thank you for your sacrifices, or would they wish you had chosen differently? That image alone can give you the strength to endure today's discomfort. The pain of discipline is short-lived. It strengthens, it shapes, it builds. The pain of regret, however, echoes forever. Choose discipline not because it is easy, but because it makes life meaningful. Choose discipline not because it spares you from struggle, but because it transforms your struggle into strength. At the end of your life, you will not regret the days you worked hard, the times you resisted temptation, the moments you pushed yourself further, but you will regret the chances you didn't take, the dreams you didn't chase, and the discipline you didn't practice. So choose wisely. Embrace the pain of discipline today, so you never have to taste the far heavier pain of regret tomorrow. The discipline of clarity. One of the greatest enemies of discipline is not laziness, it is confusion. When your goals are blurry, when your vision is unclear, discipline feels like a punishment. You may find yourself asking, why am I even doing this? Without clarity, every effort feels heavier, every sacrifice feels empty. But when your direction is sharp and your purpose is clear, discipline transforms from a burden into a choice you embrace. Clarity is like light on a dark road. Imagine driving at night without headlights. You may be moving, but every moment is uncertain. You are tense, hesitant, unsure of where the road will lead. Now picture the same road, but with strong headlights illuminating the path. Suddenly, every decision feels easier. You know when to turn, when to slow down, when to accelerate. The road hasn't changed. It's your vision that has. Life works in the same way. Discipline thrives when clarity shines on your path. Ask yourself, what am I working toward? Why does it matter? These two questions, answered honestly, can change the way you see everything. A student who studies aimlessly may feel overwhelmed, dragging themselves through endless assignments. But a student who studies with the clear goal of becoming a doctor, an engineer, or a leader carries discipline with pride. The same hours of work feel different when they are tied to a meaningful vision. Clarity gives discipline context. Without it, you feel as though you are suffering for no reason. With it, you understand that each sacrifice is an investment. Waking up early is no longer about denying yourself sleep. It is about preparing for success. Saving money is no longer about restricting joy. It is about building freedom. Discipline without clarity is misery. Discipline with clarity is purpose. Consider the archer with a bow in hand. If there is no target, the arrows scatter everywhere. No matter how many arrows they release, none will matter because there was nothing to aim for. But the moment a target appears, every arrow has meaning. The archer's effort becomes focused, intentional, and rewarding. Your life is the same. Without goals, your energy disperses in 1,000 directions, wasted and unfocused. With goals, your energy sharpens, and each action pulls you closer to what you truly desire. But clarity does not appear on its own. It requires discipline to create it. You must sit with yourself and reflect. What do you really want? Not what others expect from you, not what society pushes on you, but what you deeply long for. This reflection may be uncomfortable, but it is necessary. Writing down your goals, defining your vision, and setting priorities is itself an act of discipline. Think of a mountain climber. Without knowing which peak they are climbing, every step feels random. But once they point to the summit and say, "That is my goal," then every step has meaning. Even when the climb becomes hard, their clarity keeps them moving. That summit in their mind fuels their discipline. Clarity also makes decision-making easier. When your values and goals are clear, choices are no longer endless debates. If health is your goal, the choice between junk food and a balanced meal is simple. If financial freedom is your vision, the choice between reckless spending and saving becomes obvious. Clarity filters out distractions and reveals what truly matters. Discipline and clarity form a partnership. Clarity fuels your discipline, and discipline strengthens your clarity. The clearer your vision, the more committed you become. The more disciplined you are, the sharper your vision grows. Together, they create unstoppable momentum. So, how do you develop clarity in your own life? Begin with stillness. Take time to reflect. Write your goals in detail. Imagine the life you want in 5 years, in 10 years. Picture it clearly: the career, the health, the relationships, the lifestyle. Once you can see it, discipline becomes less about forcing yourself and more about aligning yourself with that vision. For example, if your vision is to run a marathon, then every early morning run becomes meaningful. If your goal is to build a business, then every hour spent learning, planning, and creating feels purposeful. If your desire is to grow spiritually, then every moment of quiet reflection, prayer, or meditation is a step closer to that vision. Clarity answers the question, why am I doing this? And once that question is answered, discipline becomes a willing servant of your purpose. At times, your vision may blur. Life will distract you, challenges will overwhelm you, and you may forget why you began. That is natural. The key is to return to clarity again and again. Revisit your goals, refocus your mind, realign your efforts. Each time you do, discipline will return stronger than before. So remember this: discipline without clarity is chains, but discipline with clarity is wings. One holds you down, the other lifts you up. Choose to live with clarity. Define your target. See your summit. Know your why. Because when the why is clear, the how becomes easier. Clarity turns discipline from something you must force into something you gladly practice. And in that transformation lies the power to not only endure the struggle of discipline, but to embrace it as the path toward the life you truly want. Small wins build big discipline. When people think of discipline, they often imagine enormous sacrifices, dramatic acts of willpower, or life-changing decisions made in a single moment. But discipline, in truth, is not built on the extraordinary. It is built on the ordinary, on the small, simple choices you make every single day. It is not the single giant leap that defines you, but the steady footsteps taken consistently without fail. Think of a bricklayer at work. Each day he carries a brick, sets it in place, and repeats the process. To an observer it may look unimpressive. A single brick does not resemble a wall. A single wall does not resemble a building. Yet day after day, brick after brick, something remarkable takes shape. Over time, the small actions add up, and a strong, unshakable structure stands tall. That is the power of small wins. They accumulate, and together they form something extraordinary. Discipline works in the same way. One morning of waking up early doesn't change your life. One workout doesn't transform your body. One page of reading doesn't make you a scholar. But when these actions are repeated daily, something magical happens. They compound, they create momentum, and momentum, once built, carries you forward with less resistance. Consider the person who commits to just 10 minutes of exercise a day. At first it seems insignificant. 10 minutes? What difference can it make? But over weeks, 10 minutes turns into 30. Over months, the habit becomes automatic. Over years, the results are undeniable. What once felt small has become a defining part of their lifestyle. This is why small wins are so powerful. They bypass the overwhelming weight of thinking you need to do everything at once. Instead, they invite you to start small, to begin now, and to build gradually. The mountain of discipline is not climbed in one bound. It is climbed step by step with patience and persistence. Think of a person learning to play an instrument. The first practice session feels awkward. Their hands fumble, the notes sound wrong, and frustration creeps in. But if they commit to just a little practice every day, something shifts. Day by day, their fingers grow stronger, their mind sharper, their ear more attuned. After months, they play with confidence. The secret was not talent, it was small wins, compounded over time. These small wins do more than create results, they shape your identity. Each time you follow through on a small promise to yourself, you are proving that you are disciplined, that you can be trusted, that you are capable. Each time you choose action over excuse, even in a small way, you are reinforcing the story you tell yourself: I am someone who shows up, and that identity becomes the foundation for bigger victories. Momentum is your ally in this journey. Imagine pushing a heavy boulder at the bottom of a hill. At first, it feels impossible to move. The effort is immense, but with a few pushes, it begins to shift. With more effort, it starts rolling, and soon it is moving forward with such force that you no longer need to push as hard. That is the power of small wins. They create momentum, and once momentum is on your side, discipline feels less like a struggle and more like a natural flow. It is important to remember, however, that small wins require consistency. Doing something once will not change you. Doing it daily, no matter how small, is what builds strength. A single drop of water does not shape a stone, but drops, repeated over years, carve valleys and canyons. Likewise, small actions repeated faithfully reshape your life. So how can you apply this principle in your own journey? Begin by choosing one small action aligned with your goal. If you want to get fit, start with 5 push-ups each morning. If you want to grow wiser, read 2 pages of a book each night. If you want to save money, set aside just a small amount each week. These are not grand gestures, but they are seeds. And seeds, when nurtured, grow into trees that stand for decades. Over time, small wins also teach you patience. In a world obsessed with instant results, discipline reminds you that greatness is slow, steady, and deliberate. The person who plants a tree does not expect shade the next day. They know it takes years, yet they plant anyway, trusting that their effort today will bring reward tomorrow. The same is true of discipline. Your small wins today may seem invisible, but they are building the future you will one day live in. Never underestimate the power of what may seem insignificant. A 5-minute decision repeated daily can change your life. Discipline does not require grand, heroic acts. It requires small, consistent victories. Over time, those victories will add up to a life of strength, growth, and unshakable character. So remember, discipline is not about winning once in a while. It is about winning daily, in small ways, until those small wins define who you are. Choose your bricks, lay them faithfully, and watch as the wall of your disciplined life rises higher and stronger with every passing day. The role of habits. If discipline is the foundation of success, then habits are the bricks that build it into a lasting structure. Habits are what transform discipline from a constant battle into an almost effortless rhythm. They take actions that once required willpower and make them automatic. And once a behavior becomes automatic, discipline shifts from something you struggle with into something you live by. Think for a moment about brushing your teeth. At some point in your childhood, it required effort. You had to be reminded, perhaps even scolded, to do it every morning and night. But over time, repetition turned it into a habit. Now you don't wrestle with a decision. You don't debate whether to brush or not. You simply do it. It has become part of your identity. This is the quiet power of habits. They free you from relying on sheer willpower every single time. Because willpower is like a muscle, it tires. If you depend on willpower alone, you will eventually give in. But when discipline evolves into habit, the action requires far less effort. It becomes who you are, not just what you do. Imagine 2 people who want to live healthier. The first relies only on bursts of motivation. They start a diet on Monday, but by Friday, temptation wins. The second person builds habits, keeping healthy food in the fridge, scheduling workouts into their daily routine, going to bed early. At first, both find it hard, but as weeks pass, the second person's habits carry them, while the first continues to struggle. One is batting themselves daily, the other has automated discipline through habit. This principle applies everywhere. A writer who develops the habit of writing for just 30 minutes a day may not feel the weight of producing a book, but in a year they have hundreds of pages. An investor who develops the habit of saving a small percentage of income may not feel the sacrifice daily, but over decades they build wealth. Tiny habits, compounded over time, create extraordinary results. There is a saying, we do not rise to the level of our goals, we fall to the level of our habits. Goals give you direction, but habits determine whether you reach them. You can set the most ambitious vision for yourself, but if your daily habits contradict that vision, you will never arrive. Conversely, even modest goals can be achieved if your habits support them consistently. So how do you build habits that support discipline? The first step is environment. Your surroundings shape your behavior far more than you realize. If you want to read more, keep books visible and accessible. If you want to stop eating junk food, don't keep it in the house. If you want to exercise, prepare your workout clothes the night before. Reduce friction for the habits you want and increase friction for the habits you don't. The second step is to start small. Too often, people set massive, unrealistic expectations. They vow to exercise 2 hours a day, meditate for an hour, or write 10 pages daily. But when the task is too big, it collapses under its own weight. Start with small wins: 10 push-ups, 5 minutes of meditation, 1 page of writing. These may seem insignificant, but they create momentum. And once momentum is built, habits grow naturally. The third step is consistency. A habit does not form through intensity, it forms through repetition. It is not what you do once in a while that shapes your life, it is what you do daily. A single workout won't change your body, but 100 will. One day of savings won't create wealth, but years of it will. Habits are about showing up again and again until the action feels as natural as breathing. And finally, habits should be tied to identity. If you see yourself as someone who is trying to exercise, you will always feel fragile in your commitment. But if you see yourself as a healthy person, then exercise is not something you do occasionally, it is who you are. When habits become part of your identity, discipline becomes second nature. Think of it like a river carving a canyon. At first, the water struggles to find a path, but over time, as it flows consistently, it shapes the landscape itself. Habits are the flow of your actions. Over time, they carve the landscape of your character and your destiny. So remember this: discipline starts with decisions, but it endures through habits. Build the right routines, shape the right environment, start small, stay consistent, and let those habits define you. Because once discipline becomes habit, and habit becomes identity, you no longer fight to live a disciplined life. You simply live it. Delayed gratification. Discipline, at its heart, is the willingness to delay gratification. It is the art of saying no to what feels good right now so you can say yes to what will feel extraordinary later. Every meaningful achievement in life, whether in health, relationships, education, or success, requires this ability. Without it, the human mind becomes a servant of impulse, constantly chasing short-term pleasures at the cost of long-term fulfillment. Think for a moment about a simple seed. If you plant it in the soil today, you will not see fruit tomorrow. You must water it, nurture it, protect it from weeds and storms. The process takes weeks, months, sometimes even years. Yet those who have the patience to wait and care eventually enjoy a harvest. That is delayed gratification in its purest form. Investing now, reaping later. Unfortunately, many people fall into the trap of immediate gratification. They want results without process, rewards without effort, pleasure without patience. But life does not work that way. The price of impatience is regret, while the reward of patience is growth. Consider health as an example. The person who constantly chooses fast food because it is quick and tasty enjoys a fleeting pleasure in the moment. But over time, their body weakens, their energy fades, and they pay a price much greater than the few minutes of taste. On the other hand, the person who chooses to cook healthier meals, who exercises instead of lounging, feels the sting of effort today, yet in the future they enjoy vitality, strength, and freedom from illness. One choice satisfies now but steals later. The other denies now but gifts later. Education tells the same story. A student who chooses television or endless scrolling over study feels entertained for the night, but weeks later, when exams arrive, they feel stress and regret. The disciplined student who spends those same hours reviewing, solving problems, and preparing may feel tired in the moment, yet when the results come, they hold confidence and pride. The temporary denial of entertainment becomes the permanent reward of success. This principle applies everywhere. Relationships grow through patience, not impulse. Finances grow through saving and investing, not reckless spending. Careers grow through steady learning and consistent effort, not chasing shortcuts. Delayed gratification is the silent thread that weaves discipline into every corner of life. There is a simple but powerful question you can ask yourself each day. Do I want what feels good now, or what will feel best later? This question creates awareness in moments of decision. When you crave the dessert, ask, do I want this taste now, or the health later? When you feel like skipping the workout, ask, do I want this comfort now, or the strength later? When you are tempted to quit early, ask, do I want relief now, or the satisfaction of victory later? Over time, choosing the later strengthens your will. Each act of delayed gratification builds mental muscle. It is like training your mind to endure small discomforts now, so it can enjoy greater rewards later. Of course, delayed gratification is not easy. It requires vision. You must be able to see beyond the present moment and picture your future self. Imagine who you will become, what you will achieve, what life will look like if you stay disciplined. That vision fuels your ability to wait. Without vision, sacrifice feels meaningless. With vision, sacrifice feels purposeful. Imagine two builders. One uses cheap materials and builds quickly, enjoying the feeling of finishing fast. But soon the walls crack, the roof leaks, and the structure collapses. The other takes longer, invests in quality, and labors with patience. Years later, their building stands tall and unshaken. One chose the easy pleasure of speed, the other chose the delayed reward of strength. Whose work lasts? Life will test you with temptations, small, daily choices where comfort whispers louder than purpose. The snack instead of the healthy meal, the phone instead of the book, the snooze button instead of the early rise. Each of these is an opportunity to practice delayed gratification, and while the choice may seem small, over months and years, it shapes your destiny. The disciplined person is not someone who never feels desire. They feel it just as strongly, but they have trained themselves to see beyond the moment. They understand that saying not now is not the same as saying never. It is choosing the greater reward over the lesser one. So the next time you are tempted by what feels good now, pause. See the bigger picture. Remind yourself, I am not denying myself pleasure. I am exchanging a small pleasure now for a far greater one later. That is not loss. That is wisdom. Delayed gratification is the difference between the ordinary and the extraordinary. It is the reason some live with regret while others live with fulfillment. It is the bridge between desire and destiny. Choose to wait. Choose to endure. Choose to sacrifice in the moment so that your future self can live free, proud, and strong. Because the truth is simple. Those who master delayed gratification master discipline, and those who master discipline master life itself. The environment of discipline. Discipline does not exist in isolation. It does not thrive in a vacuum. Your environment, the people you spend time with, the spaces you occupy, the habits that surround you, shapes your level of discipline more than you may realize. You can have the strongest intentions, but if you place yourself in the wrong environment, your willpower will constantly be under attack. Conversely, if you create an environment that supports growth, discipline begins to feel natural, almost effortless. Think of a seed. No matter how healthy the seed is, if it is planted in dry soil without sunlight or water, it will not grow. But place the same seed in fertile soil with sunlight and consistent care, and it flourishes into a strong plant. Discipline works the same way. You may have the potential within you, but without the right environment, your discipline withers. With the right surroundings, however, your discipline blossoms. Consider this simple example. Imagine someone trying to eat healthier. If their kitchen is filled with sugary snacks, fried foods, and sodas, then every moment becomes a battle. Each time they walk into the kitchen, temptation stares them in the face. But if they clear away the junk food and instead fill their shelves with fruits, vegetables, and nourishing meals, suddenly, the discipline to eat well requires far less effort. The environment has already made the choice easier. Your surroundings either add friction to your discipline or remove it. If you want to read more, place books within reach and reduce the presence of distractions. If you want to exercise consistently, keep your workout clothes and shoes ready where you can see them. If you want to focus at work, design your workspace to minimize interruptions, clean, organized, and free of unnecessary noise. These small adjustments create an environment where discipline is supported rather than resisted. But environment is not just physical, it is also social. The people you spend the most time with influence your habits more than you may imagine. Surround yourself with those who lack direction, who complain, who live undisciplined lives, and their energy will drain yours. Slowly, without realizing, their habits become your habits. On the other hand, if you surround yourself with people who are focused, determined, and driven, you rise to meet their standard. You hold yourself accountable, not because someone forces you to, but because excellence becomes the norm. Think about how much easier it is to stay disciplined when others around you are pursuing goals with intensity. In a gym filled with motivated people, you naturally push harder. In a study group where everyone is focused, you concentrate better. In a workplace where excellence is valued, you strive to do your best. Energy is contagious, whether it pulls you upward or drags you down. This is why mentors, communities, and accountability partners are so powerful. They form part of your environment. They create an atmosphere where discipline feels expected, even natural. When you are surrounded by people who believe in discipline, excuses no longer feel acceptable. Your environment also includes what you consume mentally, the media you watch, the books you read, the conversations you entertain. Constant negativity and distraction will weaken your resolve. But words of wisdom, stories of perseverance, and uplifting voices will fuel your discipline. Just as food nourishes or poisons the body, information nourishes or poisons the mind. Choose wisely what you allow into your mental environment. Designing the right environment requires awareness. Step back and ask yourself, does my environment make discipline easier or harder? Do the spaces I live and work in align with my goals? Do the people around me lift me up or pull me down? Do my daily inputs, social media, television, conversations, encourage focus or distraction? These questions reveal whether your environment is supporting or sabotaging you. The truth is, willpower alone is not enough. Even the strongest person will eventually tire if their environment is filled with constant temptation and distraction. But with the right environment, discipline becomes less about fighting against yourself and more about flowing with your surroundings. You don't have to force discipline, you simply live in alignment with the world you've built around you. So take responsibility for your environment. Clean your space, organize your tools, surround yourself with disciplined people, limit negative influences. Choose inputs that feed your mind and soul with strength. Each change may seem small, but together they transform your environment into fertile soil for discipline to grow. Remember, success is not just about inner strength. It is also about outer support. If you want to rise higher, build an environment that lifts you. If you want to be disciplined, create an atmosphere where discipline feels natural. Because when your environment is aligned with your goals, you no longer fight against the current, you move with it, and that momentum makes all the difference. Discipline through routine. There is a secret to discipline that many people overlook. Discipline is not always about sheer willpower or heroic effort. Often it is about creating a routine so strong, so stable, that it carries you even when your motivation fades. A routine is discipline in motion. It is structure applied to your daily life, and it has the power to shape your future without constant internal battles. Think of some of the most successful people in history: leaders, inventors, athletes, thinkers. Their lives were not random or chaotic. They lived by routines. They rose at the same time each day, practiced their craft consistently, and designed their hours around their goals. These routines freed them from indecision and allowed their energy to flow directly into what mattered most. Routine reduces the noise of life. Every day we are faced with countless choices. What time should I wake up? Should I work on my goals now or later? Should I exercise today or tomorrow? These decisions drain mental energy, but with a routine, you don't ask those questions anymore. The answers are already decided. You wake up because that is your habit. You exercise because it is scheduled. You work on your goals because your routine demands it. Suddenly, discipline is no longer a battle of will. It becomes automatic. Imagine two writers. The first waits for inspiration. Some days they write, some days they don't. Weeks pass without progress. The second has a simple routine. Every morning at 7 a.m. they sit at their desk and write for 2 hours. They do this whether they feel inspired or not. Over time, who will write more pages? Who will finish their book? The answer is obvious. Discipline through routine creates consistency, and consistency creates results. But routines do more than just create productivity. They protect you from chaos. Life is unpredictable. There will be distractions, setbacks, and interruptions. Without a routine, these disruptions can throw you off course completely. But when you have structure, you always know where to return. A routine acts like an anchor that holds you steady in turbulent waters. Consider your mornings. If you begin your day without structure, it is easy to drift. You might spend too much time on your phone, waste energy on small decisions, or rush into the day feeling scattered. But if you have a morning routine, waking at the same time, stretching, reviewing your goals, eating a healthy breakfast, you begin with purpose. That first hour shapes the next 10. The same applies to evenings. Ending your day with a routine, reflecting, preparing for tomorrow, winding down, signals to your body and mind that it is time to rest. These daily rhythms, practiced consistently, give you strength far beyond what raw willpower could provide. Building a routine requires intention. Start small. Choose one part of your day to structure. For example, commit to waking up at the same time every morning no matter how you feel. Once that becomes natural, add another habit, perhaps daily exercise or dedicated reading time. Layer by layer, your routine will grow stronger. Over weeks and months, it will become the backbone of your discipline. It is important, however, to build routines that reflect your goals. A routine without purpose is just repetition. A routine with purpose is transformation. Ask yourself, what life am I trying to create? Then design your daily structure around that vision. If your goal is health, make exercise and nutrition part of your routine. If your goal is financial growth, schedule time for learning and disciplined work. If your goal is peace of mind, include moments of silence, prayer, or meditation. Some may resist routines, believing they limit freedom. But the truth is the opposite. Routines do not cage you, they free you. Without structure, you are a prisoner to moods, impulses, and distractions. With structure, you are liberated to focus on what truly matters. A well-built routine is like rails for a train. The rails may look restrictive, but in reality, they make the journey smooth and direct. Without them, the train cannot move forward at all. There will be days when you do not feel like following your routine. That is normal. Discipline is not about perfection, but persistence. Even if you slip once, return to the pattern the next day. The strength of a routine is not in never breaking, but in always coming back. Over time, the routine itself will carry you even on the hardest days. Remember this: motivation is fleeting, but routine is lasting. Motivation may get you started, but routine keeps you going. Motivation whispers, "Do this now." Routine declares, "This is who I am." And once discipline through routine becomes part of your identity, you no longer struggle to stay consistent. It becomes natural. So design your days with care. Protect your mornings, anchor your evenings, build rhythms that match your dreams, and understand that every time you follow your routine, you are not just passing time. You are building the disciplined, resilient, and purposeful life you desire. In the end, discipline through routine is about creating a life where the right actions happen automatically. It is about turning discipline from a fight into a flow. Once you achieve this, you will discover that success is not found in occasional bursts of effort, but in the steady rhythm of daily discipline. Discipline and resilience. When most people think of discipline, they imagine perfection. They imagine the person who never misses a workout, who never procrastinates, who never slips. But the truth is very different. Discipline is not about perfection. Discipline is about resilience, the ability to rise again when you fall, to recommit when you drift, to keep going even when your path has been broken by setbacks. Life is not a straight line. You will stumble. You will face days when your willpower feels weak and your focus is gone. There will be mornings when you choose sleep instead of action, evenings when distractions overpower your goals, moments when you break your promises to yourself. And in those moments, many people surrender. They think, "I've failed. I'm not disciplined. This isn't for me." But discipline is not destroyed by failure. Discipline is strengthened by how you respond to failure. Resilience is the heartbeat of true discipline. It is the inner voice that says, "Yes, I fell, but I will rise again." Imagine a child learning to walk. They stumble, they fall, they cry, yet they stand up again, wobbling forward with determination. No one expects them to walk perfectly the first time, but as adults, we expect perfection of ourselves, and when we fail once, we stop trying. That is where discipline dies, not in the failure itself, but in the decision to stop trying. Consider the athlete training for a marathon. They may have a week where injury slows them down or fatigue forces them to rest. Does that mean their journey is over? No. The disciplined athlete adapts, recovers, and keeps moving forward. Their resilience keeps their vision alive. The same applies to you. Discipline is not ruined by a single mistake. It is built by the decision to return to the path after that mistake. Think of a rubber band. It stretches, it bends, it pulls under pressure. Sometimes it feels like it may snap, but if it is resilient, it always returns to its shape. Your discipline works the same way. Life will stretch you, challenge you, and sometimes break your rhythm. Resilience ensures that you snap back, ready to continue the journey. Why is resilience so important to discipline? Because progress is never steady. You will experience seasons of momentum, where everything feels easy, where your focus is sharp and your habits flow naturally. And then you will experience seasons of resistance, where every step feels heavy and progress seems invisible. Resilience is what carries you through the difficult seasons until momentum returns. There is a timeless truth: failure is not the opposite of success, it is part of success. Every great achiever has failed countless times. The difference is that they did not let failure define them. They used it as feedback, as a teacher, as a stepping stone. Resilient discipline treats every failure not as the end, but as part of the process. For example, imagine someone trying to build the habit of daily writing. On day 1, they write. On day 2, they write. By day 3, they forget. By day 4, they give up completely. That is fragile discipline. Now imagine another person. They write for 2 days, miss the 3rd, but return on the 4th. Then they miss again, but return again. Over time, their resilience creates a habit, even if imperfect. They may have gaps, but their persistence fills those gaps with progress. This is what discipline truly looks like in the real world: imperfect, but unbreakable. Resilience also demands forgiveness. You must forgive yourself when you slip. Too often we hold our mistakes as evidence against us. We let guilt drown us, instead of learning from it. Resilient discipline does not wallow in guilt. It uses mistakes as motivation. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this slip? How can I prevent it next time? How can I turn this failure into fuel? Another important truth is that resilience requires patience. Discipline is a long game. You will not transform overnight. You will not master yourself in a week. You will need months, even years of consistent effort. And in that time, resilience becomes your greatest ally. Without patience, every setback feels final. With patience, every setback feels temporary. Remember the bamboo tree. For years, it shows no visible growth. You water it, you nurture it, but the soil looks empty. Then suddenly, in a single season, it shoots up, feet into the air. Did it grow overnight? No, it grew underground, building roots, preparing for its season. That is resilience, that is discipline. Sometimes your results are invisible, but your persistence is building roots that will one day break through the surface. So the next time you fall, remember, discipline is not broken by falling down. It is broken only if you refuse to rise. Resilience is the act of standing up again and again, no matter how many times life knocks you down. Discipline and resilience walk hand in hand. Discipline gives you the structure to follow. Resilience gives you the strength to return when that structure cracks. Together they create a life of unstoppable progress. Never forget, you will fail, you will fall, you will falter, but as long as you rise again, you remain disciplined. True strength is not never falling, it is rising every single time. Living a disciplined life. Discipline is not meant to be a temporary tool you pick up only when life gets hard. It is not something you practice only when you feel motivated or when you have no other choice. Discipline, at its highest level, is a way of living. It is a mindset, a rhythm, an identity. When you truly embrace discipline, it ceases to be something you struggle to maintain. It becomes part of who you are. Think about breathing. You do not wake up in the morning and ask yourself if you will breathe today. You simply do it. In the same way, the most successful and fulfilled people do not wake up debating whether they will follow through on their commitments. For them, discipline is as natural as breath. It is woven into the fabric of their lives. Living a disciplined life does not mean living without joy, without freedom, or without rest. On the contrary, discipline is what allows true freedom. Without discipline, freedom becomes chaos. Without discipline, opportunities slip through your fingers. But when discipline guides your life, you are free to pursue what matters most. You are not trapped by impulses, distractions, or temporary emotions. You are in command of yourself. Ask yourself this: what would my life look like if discipline became who I am, not just what I try to do? Imagine waking each morning with clarity, with focus, with determination that doesn't rely on fleeting feelings. Imagine moving through your day with consistency, knowing that your habits align with your vision. Imagine ending each night with peace, because you know you honored your commitments, not only to others, but to yourself. This is the power of living a disciplined life. The difference between practicing discipline occasionally and living it daily is enormous. Practicing discipline occasionally might get you small victories. Living discipline daily transforms your entire character. It changes the way others see you, and more importantly, the way you see yourself. You become reliable. You become strong. You become trustworthy in your own eyes. And there is no greater confidence than the knowledge that you can trust yourself to do what you said you would do. Think of a river carving its way through stone. It does not do so in a single surge of strength, but through steady, consistent flow. Discipline works the same way. When it becomes your way of life, your steady flow of actions carves out the future you desire. At first, it may feel like small ripples. Over time, it shapes mountains. But living a disciplined life does not mean you will never stumble. Even the most disciplined people fail. The difference is that they rise again quickly. They do not see a setback as a reason to abandon discipline. They see it as part of the journey. When discipline is your identity, one failure does not define you. You return to your path because it is simply who you are. To live a disciplined life also requires balance. Discipline is not about harshness, punishment, or denying yourself every pleasure. It is about structure, order, and alignment with your values. It means knowing when to work and when to rest, when to push and when to recover. It means creating a lifestyle that sustains you for the long term, not one that burns you out. One of the most important steps in living a disciplined life is to integrate your habits into your identity. Don't just say, "I'm trying to exercise." Say, "I am someone who takes care of their body." Don't just say, "I'm trying to save money." Say, "I am someone who builds financial freedom." When discipline is tied to who you believe yourself to be, it becomes natural. It stops being something you force and starts being something you embody. This shift in identity is the key to sustaining discipline for life. When you see yourself as disciplined, your actions naturally align with that image. Even when it's hard, even when distractions tempt you, you return to your habits because breaking them would mean betraying who you are. So, what does it look like to live a disciplined life in practice? It looks like a daily routine shaped around your highest priorities. It looks like keeping your word to yourself. It looks like saying no to distractions, even when they look appealing. It looks like building habits that support your health, your growth, your relationships, and your dreams. It looks like walking through life with purpose in your step and strength in your spirit. Living a disciplined life is not about becoming perfect. It's about becoming consistent. It's about choosing growth over comfort, not just once, but every day. And as you repeat these choices, something beautiful happens. Your life becomes a reflection of your discipline. Success becomes inevitable. Growth becomes constant. Peace becomes natural. At the end of it all, you will not look back and wish you had lived with less discipline, but you may regret if you let your potential slip away because you chose comfort over consistency. Discipline is the great protector of dreams. It guards them, nurtures them, and eventually brings them to life. So choose to live a disciplined life, not for a week, not for a month, not for a season, but for a lifetime. Let discipline become the very core of your identity. For once it does, you will find that the life you desire is not only possible, it is inevitable. The final word on discipline. As we reach the end of this journey, take a deep breath and reflect on everything you have heard. Discipline is not simply a skill. It is the cornerstone of a meaningful, purposeful, and powerful life. It is the silent force behind every great achievement, the unseen engine that drives dreams into reality. Without discipline, even the brightest vision fades. With it, even the hardest journey becomes possible. Think of the chapters we explored together. You learned about the power of self-mastery, that the greatest battle is not with the world but with yourself. You faced the choice between the pain of discipline and the pain of regret, and you saw that one is temporary while the other can last a lifetime. You discovered the importance of clarity, the strength of small wins, the structure of habits, and the value of delayed gratification. You came to understand the influence of your environment, the stability of routines, the resilience required after failure, and the profound transformation that happens when discipline becomes a way of life. Each of these lessons connects to one truth. Discipline is not about denying yourself, it is about building yourself. It is about shaping your future, protecting your dreams, and honoring your potential. Now, I want you to imagine your future self. Picture yourself 5, 10, even 20 years from now. Who do you see? What life are you living? What have you accomplished? If that vision is clear, then know this: discipline is the bridge that will carry you there. It will not be an easy walk, but it will be a worthwhile one. Every step you take in discipline brings you closer to that vision, while every excuse pulls you farther away. Remember this: discipline is not something you wait to feel, it is something you practice. It is not something given to you, It is something you build. The strongest people you admire are not superhuman. They simply chose discipline when others chose comfort. And that same choice is available to you every single day. Yes, there will be moments when you stumble. There will be days when you feel weak, when the weight of responsibility seems too heavy, when comfort seems too tempting. But in those moments, remind yourself of the truth. Your future self is counting on you, and every time you rise, every time you push forward, you are proving to yourself that you are stronger than your excuses. Discipline also brings something greater than success. It brings freedom. Freedom from regret, freedom from chaos, freedom from being controlled by impulses or moods. It allows you to stand tall, to take charge of your time, your energy, and your life. With discipline, you are no longer a passenger, you are the driver of your destiny. At the end of your days, what will matter most is not how easy life was, but how meaningful it was. And meaning comes from effort, from sacrifice, from discipline. You will not remember the hours of comfort you chose. You will remember the goals you reached, the habits you built, the battles you fought and won within yourself. So I leave you with this final challenge. Do not wait for tomorrow to begin. Start today. Start with one action, one decision, one step. Rise a little earlier, focus a little longer, push yourself a little harder. Small acts of discipline, repeated daily, will build a life of greatness. And when doubt whispers in your ear, answer with strength. I am not here to waste my potential. I am not here to live in regret. I am here to live disciplined, determined, and free. The choice is yours. The future is yours. The power is already within you. Discipline is the key that will unlock it. So step forward. Live with purpose. Live with strength. Live with discipline.